Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, kind of a complex corner of the gaming world. The economics of subscription services, specifically Xbox Game Pass. Now, on one hand, it's amazing value for players, right? Huge library, low price. But our sources, they're revealing that some pretty high-profile former execs are actually voicing some significant concerns. Worries about the long-term impact on the people making the games we all play.
That's exactly it. Our mission for you today is really to unpack these tensions, as one source put it. We want to explore the big questions being raised about, sustainability, particularly around how developers get paid and just the overall health of the game creation ecosystem itself.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. We've got several former senior people talking.
Yeah.
Like Pete Hines, former senior VP at Bethesda. He actually describes some Microsoft decisions on Game Pass as, quote, short-sighted. But what makes them short-sighted from a creator's angle? Well, what's really interesting is how strongly Hines feels. He argues the model itself, the subscription model, it creates this inherent tension because in his view, it doesn't properly value or reward the creators for their specific games. He even said a service is worth jacktest without that balance. Strong words.
Wow, yeah. Jacktest.
Right. The idea is you often get an upfront payment, maybe based on engagement metrics later, but for a lot of games, that might not make up for the potential loss of direct sales, individual copies sold. So it shifts the risk onto the developer sometimes, and, well, he feels it devalues the work, ultimately hurting a lot of people.
Okay, so that's a big point about devaluing individual games. And building on that, Shannon Loftus, she's a former general manager at Xbox Studios. She gives a bit more detail on how the money flows or doesn't. She mentioned that while Game Pass is great for getting smaller games noticed.
Discovery's a benefit.
Right. But a lot of the adoption, the plays people make on the service, it comes at the expense of retail revenue. Exactly. And that connects to this bigger idea people talk about, cannibalization.
Yeah.
The subscription can sort of eat into those traditional one-time sales. So developers get that initial money, maybe, but they might lose out on potentially more income down the line from people buying the game outright.
So it forces their hand a bit.
It can, yeah. It pushes studios towards designing games specifically with post-launch monetization. Think about DLC, season passes, cosmetics, things like that from the start. Because that initial Game Pass deal often isn't enough if your whole plan was just selling the base game once. That's where those weird intertensions she talked about come in.
It's not entirely negative, though, is it? Like, we should acknowledge, for some developers, especially smaller indies.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really crucial counterpoint. For some, Game Pass has been a lifeline. Guaranteed funding up front, less worry about marketing spend, access to a massive audience.
Yeah, an audience they might never have reached otherwise.
Definitely. It enables games that might just not get made otherwise. But then you also have critiques extending beyond former Xbox people. Look at Sean Layden, former head of PlayStation America.
Right, Layden's been quite vocal too.
Very. He argues the key question isn't just, is the platform profitable, but is the service healthy and helpful for the developer? That's his focus.
And he used that really striking phrase, didn't he? Calling developers wage slaves in this kind of system. I mean, that's incredibly strong language. What's he really getting at there?
Well, using a term like wage slaves, Layden is highlighting this fear that developers might feel pressured to just churn out content that feeds the subscription machine rather than focusing on their original creative vision or maybe taking bigger risks. It could lead to a situation where they're constantly working, constantly producing, but maybe not building lasting value for their own studio or, for themselves creatively or financially. So the core criticism, really, across Hines, Loftus, Layden, it circles back to this potential devaluing of individual games, leading to financial instability or uncertainty for the people making them. And while Microsoft says, look, the service is profitable, and we do compensate developers fairly.
There's clearly a counter-narrative from these experienced voices.
Exactly. These leaders are pointing to what they see as a fundamental imbalance, particularly for the creative side.
So, okay, wrapping this up. What does this all mean for you listening in? If you're interested in where gaming is heading, the business side of things, we've got this massive appeal of Game Pass for consumers, this undeniable value. But it's set against these really serious questions from creators about whether it's sustainable for them long term.
Yeah, and it raises a really important question for you to think about. As these subscription models keep growing, not just in games, but, movies, music, everywhere, what kinds of new ideas or approaches could strike a better balance? A balance between giving you, the consumer, great access and value, while also making sure the artists and developers behind it all get fair compensation and, crucially, maintain their creative freedom.
Definitely a lot to mull over next time you fire up a game, thinking about how it actually got to your screen.